Welcome student to my BioEdge concept decoded channel. As you know, we have started the NEET Bio PYQ master series, and this NEET Bio PYQ master series we are going to decode 37 years of previous year questions, and these PYQs are breakdown with logical thinking, logical reasoning, so that you will get the idea about how to handle the MCQs. So I have already covered the part 1, part 2. You should watch this video on my channel. Let's start the part 3 of breathing and exchange of gases, in which we are going to cover the regulations of the respiration and disorders regarding the respirations. So regulation of respirations, as you know, is done by two processes. First one is the nervous system, and another one is by chemoreceptors. So we will discuss regulation of respirations, how it takes place, with the help of PYQs. Let's start. When you hold your breath, which of the following gas changes in blood would first lead to the urge to breathe? First, which gas is responsible for urge for breath? First one is the falling CO2 concentration. If CO2 concentration is decreasing, then there would be no problem, because carbon dioxide is the waste product of glycolysis, and this waste product should be removed. And falling CO2 concentration means there would be a greater oxygen present in the blood. This would be not a correct explanation why our body give urge for the breathing. Next one is the rising carbon dioxide and falling oxygen concentration. If CO2 is increased, then it combines with water and forms the carbonic acid, as well as its spontaneous dissociation leads to the formation of bicarbonate ions and formation of H plus ions, and H plus ions contributes to the blood acidosis. If there is a increase in concentration of carbon dioxide, falling oxygen is not responsible for the regulation of breathing, as we know. So chemoreceptors detect only H plus ion concentration and carbon dioxide concentration. Why this H plus and CO2 concentration is determined by the chemoreceptors? Because this leads to the blood acidosis, and that's why oxygen has an insignificant role in regulation of breathing. So this is the line in NCERT. So oxygen has insignificant role in regulation of breathing. That's why this second part is wrong, but first part is correct. So this statement is wrong. Then falling oxygen concentration does not responsible for regulation of breathing. So this is also wrong. And rising carbon dioxide concentration, this is the correct option. Why? Because if carbon dioxide increase, then bicarbonate and H plus ions are increased, blood acidosis may happen. So that carbon dioxide removal is important. That's why our body tries to inhale and exhale oxygen. In inhalation, oxygen comes into the blood, and in exhalation, carbon dioxide will be released from the body. Next question, the respiratory centers which controls inspiration and expiration are located in. So as we know, the respiratory centers are present in the brain, and particularly brain in a medulla oblongata. So in inspiration centers and expiration centers are present in the medulla oblongata. So first option is the diencephalon. Diencephalon is does not responsible for respiration. Then cerebellum is responsible for balancing of body. Spinal cord is also not involved. Respiratory centers in a medulla oblongata, there are two group of neurons. One is a ventral group and another is the dorsal group. So ventral group is responsible for forceful respiration, and dorsal group of neurons are responsible for normal inspiration, and expiration. Normal expiration is the passive process, so there is no requirement of control of normal expiration. Only normal inspiration is done through the dorsal group of neurons present in the medulla oblongata, ventral group of neurons responsible for forceful inspiration as well as expiration. So let's see the next question. The respiratory centers which regulates the respiration is located in medulla oblongata. So this is the repeated question. So only options are changed. Cerebellum is not involved with the respiratory center. Cerebral peduncle is also not involved. Vagus nerve is also not involved. Then next one is the disorders of the respiratory system. So disorders are very important because there are certain questions repeatedly asked on asthma, emphysema, and occupational respiratory disorders. So let's see. The first question is that due to increased airborne allergens and pollutants, many people in urban areas are suffering from respiratory disorders that cause wheezing due to. So they ask the reason behind the wheezing in urban areas where increasing airborne allergens as well as pollutants leads to the respiratory disorders, lungs disorders. First one is the reduction in secretion of surfactant by pneumocystis. So no, this is not a reason. So wheezing means noisy breathing. So pneumocystis second release the surfactant. They have a role in decrease the surface tension of alveoli and prevents its collapse, but this is not a reason for wheezing sound. So let's see the next option. Benign growth on mucous lining of nasal cavity. If there is a benign growth of mucous lining, then there will increase the mucous fluid. Nasal cavity is the part of upper respiratory tract, and the wheezing sound is produced because of the blocking of mucus in a lower respiratory tract. So that's why this option is also wrong. Inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. So bronchi and bronchioles are the lower respiratory parts. The inflammation to the bronchi and bronchioles leads to the increased mucus production and leads into the wheezing sound. So this is the correct options. So why inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles takes place? Because of airborne particles, allergens. So it is a allergic disease. This means if there is a inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles, it leads to the bronchial asthma. So asthma is a allergic disorder. So this statement is the correct statement. Proliferation of fibrous tissue and damage of the alveolar wall. So alveolar walls are damaged and fibrous tissue are produced in emphysema disease. So it is not produced in asthma. So it is also wrong statement. Which of the following options correctly represents the lung conditions in asthma and emphysema respectively? Very important. First one is the inflammation of bronchioles. Yes, in asthma inflammation of bronchioles takes place. It is a correct. Decrease surface area. So surface area is a decrease in emphysema. Yes, emphysema is responsible for decrease in surface area. Why? Because there is a damage of alveolar wall. That's why decrease in respiratory surface area takes place in emphysema. Thus statement A is correctly matched. Let's see why these three statements are wrong. Increased number of bronchioles. In asthma there would be no result in the increased number of bronchioles. This is the wrong. Then increase the respiratory surface. So it is also wrong. In decrease respiratory surface takes place in emphysema, not in asthma, because they ask respectively. Inflammation of bronchioles takes place in asthma, not in emphysema. So all these options are wrong and correct option is A option. Then next one is the which of the following is an occupational respiratory disorder. Occupational disorder, respiratory disorders happens because of working environment. So first one is the anthracis. Anthracis is the bacterial disease. It is not occupational disorders, and occupational disorders happens because of the dust, and anthracis happens because of the bacteria. So this is the not correct answer. Silicosis. Silicosis is happens because of the silica dust. Silica dust lodge into the lungs, and it results into the occupational disorders, which leads to the proliferation of fibrous tissue called as fibrosis. So fibrosis happens in a silicosis. So silicosis is the occupational disorders, and these occupational disorders present in those persons working in a glass industry or other industry where silica dust are present. So botulism is also bacterial disease, that's why it is not a correct answer. Emphysema is a alveolar damage. Emphysema is a lungs disease, but in this alveolar damage takes place because of the cigarette smoking, and it is a chronic disorder. So this is a not correct answer, that's why silicosis is the correct answer. And then next one is the name the chronic respiratory disorder caused mainly by cigarette smoking. So cigarette smoking results into first one is the respiratory acidosis. So respiratory acidosis is not disorders caused because of the cigarette smoking. Then respiratory alkalosis, it is also not. Emphysema, as we discussed earlier, emphysema results into the damage of the alveolar wall and decrease in the surface area of alveoli, means respiratory surface area is decreased, and it is a chronic disorder. Chronic means it is a long-term disorder and mainly caused because of the cigarette smoking. So emphysema is the correct answer. Asthma is the allergic disease in which wheezing sound is created, and asthma mainly involves the contraction of the bronchi, bronchioles. So bronchoconstriction takes place here. Inflammation of bronchi also takes place. So this is not the correct option. And you should know what is meant by respiratory acidosis. Respiratory acidosis means increase in H plus ions concentration in blood. That's why blood pH is changed and become acidic. So that's why it is called as the acidosis. But why it is called as a respiratory acidosis? Respiratory acidosis means lungs are not able to remove carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide combines with water and forms carbonic acid, and after its spontaneous dissociation forms bicarbonate and H plus ions, and these H plus ions are responsible for making blood acidic in nature. And respiratory acidosis takes place because of low breathing rate. And respiratory alkalosis results into the hyperventilation of lungs. Hyperventilation means there is an increase in breathing rate, so that more amount of carbon dioxide is removed from the lungs, and if there is a more amount of carbon dioxide is removed, it leads to the less H plus ions present in the blood and leads to the alkalosis. By discussing all the options, so C is the correct. Next question, asthma may be attributed to. First option is the inflammation of trachea. So asthma does not involve the inflammation of trachea, but it involves the inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. So very important. So these two parts are the inflamed. That's why this option is wrong. Accumulation of fluid in the lungs. So accumulation of fluid in lungs, but they do not explain specifically where this accumulation of fluid takes place. Accumulation of fluid in bronchi bronchioles maybe takes place, that's why wheezing sound is created in asthma, but in alveoli it may not leads to the accumulation of fluid. So this option is wrong option. Bacterial infection of the lungs. So asthma is not a bacterial disease. Asthma does not cause because of the bacteria, that's why this option is wrong. It is an allergic reaction. Yes, asthma is the allergic reaction. Mast cell secretes the histamine, serotonin and heparin, and these leads to the bronchoconstriction and leads to the difficulty in breathing and creates the wheezing sound. That's why D option is the correct option. Next one is the name the pulmonary disease in which alveolar surface area involved in gas exchange is drastically reduced due to damage in the alveolar wall. As we have already discussed, it is because of emphysema. Emphysema consists of the damage of alveolar wall and reduction in the surface area for exchange of gases in the lungs. So let's see other options. Pneumonia is not involve damage of alveolar. Pneumonia is the bacterial disease in which lungs are filled with mucus. It is a wrong option. Asthma is the allergic disease. Then pleurisy means the inflammation of pleural membranes. The next question, which of the following is correct statement for respiration in humans? So cigarette smoking may lead to the inflammation of bronchi. Cigarette smoking leads to the damage of alveolar wall. It not results into the inflammation of bronchi. That's why this option is wrong option. Neural signals from pneumotaxic centers in Pons region of brain can increase the duration of inspiration. No, pneumotaxic centers in the Pons region is responsible for decreasing the duration of inspiration, and if there is a decrease in duration of inspiration, then it would result into the increasing breathing rate. So pneumotaxic center is responsible for increasing breathing rate. So second option is also wrong. Then third, workers in grinding and stone breaking industries may suffer from lung fibrosis. Use the word may, as fibrosis means proliferation of fibrous connective tissue, and if there is a increase in the fibrous connective tissue, then there would be a decrease in elasticity of the lungs, and it affect the breathing process of the lungs. So that's why this is the occupational disorder. So this is the correct option. About 90% of carbon dioxide is carried by hemoglobin. No, as a carba-aminohemoglobin, carbon dioxide is carried is 23%, not 90%. That's why this statement is also wrong. C is the correct statement. Then next one is the blood analysis of a patient reveals an unusually high quantity of carboxyhemoglobin contained. Which of the following conclusion is most likely to be correct? So the patient has been inhaled polluted air containing unusually high content of. So question demand is the patient's blood analysis is done and it found the high quantity of carboxyhemoglobin, COHB. Carboxyhemoglobin is formed by combining of hemoglobin plus carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide bind to the iron part of hemoglobin and it forms the carboxyhemoglobin, and in iron part oxygen also binds. That's why carbon dioxide do competition for binding with hemoglobin at a iron part with oxygen, but in competition carbon monoxide wins as compared to the oxygen because it has 200 to 300 times affinity towards the hemoglobin as compared to the oxygen. So and it leads to the carboxyhemoglobin, and this carboxyhemoglobin binding is irreversible. Let's see the options. First one is the carbon disulfide. Carbon disulfide is not involved in the formation of carboxyhemoglobin. Chloroform is also not involved. Carbon dioxide is also not involved. After combination of hemoglobin with carbon dioxide forms carba-aminohemoglobin HB, forms carba-aminohemoglobin HB CO2 carba-amino, and this carbon dioxide binds with hemoglobin at amino group. That's why it is called as carba-aminohemoglobin. So it is not answer. Then next one is the carbon monoxide. So this carbon monoxide is the correct answer. So D is the correct option, and this carbon monoxide binding results into the decrease in oxygen level. That's why it also called as carbon monoxide poisoning. Question: when CO2 concentration in blood increases, breathing becomes. So questions demand is relation between carbon dioxide concentration in blood and breathing. So if carbon dioxide concentration in blood increases, then what will happen with the breathing mechanism? So as we know, the breathing is controlled by the chemoreceptors, and chemoreceptors mainly detect the H plus ions and carbon dioxide, and if there is an increase in concentration of carbon dioxide, then there will be definitely increase in a breathing rate. Why breathing rate is increased? Because to remove the excessive carbon dioxide, and that's why breathing rate becomes faster and deeper. So breathing rate becomes faster and deeper. D is the correct option. So let's see why other options are wrong. Shallower and slow. So if breathing rate becomes slow, then there would be again accumulation of carbon dioxide in blood, so it will not take place. There is a no effect on breathing. There should be a effect on breathing, because so lungs are responsible for removal of carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is increased in blood, so breathing rate must be changed. So B option is wrong. Then slow and deep. If breathing rate becomes slow, then more CO2 will be accumulated, and so it is also wrong option. One question I have given you for the practice, so you should comment the answer of this question. I will read here. Which of the following statement is not correct? So first one is the formation of oxyhemoglobin is a process of oxidation. Second is every 100 ml of oxygenated blood can deliver 5 ml of oxygen to tissue under physiological condition. Dissociation curve is a curve between percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen and partial pressure of oxygen. And last option is high concentration of CO2 activates the dissociation of hemoglobin, is called Bohr's effect. So test your NEET IQ, give answer in comments. In this way we have concluded part 3rd of breathing and exchange of gases PYQ discussion. So thank you all of you for watching this video. Please share this video with your friends, colleagues, so that's why they also get the insight about the PYQs. Thank you all of you once again.